Hello, my friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Daily Dose of Stupid. We've got some good stuff in here today, so honestly, without further ado, let's just kick things off. The first comment was from the Dig video. I know that I did dig in a previous Daily Dose of Stupid to an extent, but I got this one, and I just felt like I had to include it. Anyways, the comment reads, "This guy didn't understand the point of the game. The point is digging. At this point, call every game a bad game because TDF has one mechanic. Battleground games also have combat, but no, this guy needs a fast progression with a small as map. Like, bro, isn't good that the dev actually tries to make the map big and no won't complete it in under an hour. Like, bro, not every game is fast progression. And what do you mean it's gonna be salt too big? It's not. He made this game to replace fish that he understood his mistake and not gonna sell it again. I looked at your channel and you hate every game at this point. Get off the platform." Holy shit, that's a lot to unpack, isn't it? So I think the thing that's interesting about this comment is just how they managed to be wrong about like literally every single thing that they say in here, which is pretty impressive. Trying to say that games like Battleground games only have one mechanic is absolutely hilarious to me at how ass backwards that statement is. Because that's literally like saying that Battlegrounds games only have the default punch attack. And that's it. Because that's the same equivalent to what Dig is as a game. It's a game that literally has one mechanic. So it is unironically akin to a fighting game where your only attack is punch. There's no block, deflect, parry, nothing. It's just attack, and you have one attack. So I just like how you could possibly equate Dig to basically any game that even resembles a game is hysterical. But anyways, the idea behind me requiring a fast progression on a small map is double hysterical. You can space out your progression and make it slow, but it also has to be interesting. That's the problem that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to these extremely grindy games like Dig and Blocks Fruit, and you get the idea. These games take absolute ages to level up and get to the fun part. Not like there even is a fun part in Dig though, let's be honest. But regardless, the journey to get there is not enjoyable. It's grinding the same thing over and over and over and over again, which is something that in better games is an optional grind for cosmetics or the otherwise, and the actual progression of the game is generally at least somewhat brief, and if it isn't somewhat brief, requires you to do interesting and fun tasks while you're doing it and not the same thing over and over again. I just love how people constantly say that like, I am incapable of grinding for things when there are just like blatant examples to the contrary. I've gotten several of the mastery camos in Call of Duty games, something that requires you to mindlessly grind and do dumbass, like unreasonable challenges on weapons that you otherwise would never use or are just objectively worse than others. I've got tier 1 on practically every single weapon in Battlefield 2042, an accolade that for a lot of the weapons literally has nothing applied to it aside from a tiny little badge that you can put next to your name. Those are things that I spent hours and hours and hours grinding for basically no reward because I felt like grinding them because they're optional. It's not integral to the progression of the game. So again, this idea that I am incapable of grinding for things is hilarious. It's even more hilarious because I got to the end of fucking Blocks Fruit. Only a psychopath would do that without cheating. So yeah, I draw the line at games like Dig and Blocks Fruit when it comes to this is too grindy because there's nothing fun about it. But the real killer here is of course the Eclipse Classic at this point, which is the Eclipse hates every game. I looked at your channel and you hate every game, which is just so demonstrably false that I'm not even gonna address it. I'm just straight up, I've talked about it so many times. It's so fucking untrue that I'm not talking about that. So you guys remember that video that I made a while back? It was on that stupid game where you like hit people with clubs and knock them off the map, and it was just like horrendously bad. I cut out like the name and the title of the game and all that whatnot, so that way there wasn't a like chance in hell that anyone would go over there and play the game. Well, anyways, the original message, which I'm pretty sure I showed in that video, was this guy basically offering to pay me to play his dumbass game, which of course I did not accept, and then I made sure that nobody would play it. But anyways, the shocking part is after I called his game basically one of the worst games on the entire platform and a complete embarrassment to video games in general, he came back. He came back! Yeah, he returns and he says, hey, I just want to say thank you. You have no idea how happy I am right now. What? I recently hired someone for scripting the game. I'm trying to fix the problems you mentioned. Thank you again. There's just no way. There's no way. There's no shot. So like I didn't even really know how to respond. I just said, God, you are truly a fucking moron. And I blocked him just in case, because I never want to hear from this person ever again. How could you watch that video and thank me? I said your game was like the worst. Literally one of the worst games I've ever played. Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah, that's a new one, but the next little saga that I'm gonna be showing you is just, it's something else. And it's even more depressing because I saw it coming, and there was probably like 3 or 4 different ways I could have avoided it, admittedly, but I didn't, and here we go. So some moron messages me and he says, yo, Eclipse, someone is using your name to scam people on the Discord server. So naturally, I assumed that someone was in my Discord server. They were impersonating me and trying to scam people. So if that was the case, obviously, I would be getting rid of them. So I asked for proof, and they responded again and they said, of course, I just got scammed this morning, like he is the owner and he helps others to scam them. So I responded again and I was like, brother, if I don't know who it is, I can't get rid of them. Send their user ID and proof that they're scamming. And so then they sent me this like big barrage of screenshots, and it's basically just like the most clear and obvious scam in your life. Like only a toddler could possibly fall for this. And not only that, but none of it was at all on my server. It turns out that there was someone who owned a completely different server who was claiming to be me, scamming someone on some game that I don't even know what game it was to this day. So this moron thought that someone else was me and got scammed by them, and then came to me trying to think that like I could do something about it. I don't know. So anyways, I was pretty dumbfounded, and I left a admittedly pretty harsh response where I said, Jesus, you're dumb as bricks. Live and learn, my friend. If I had to wager, you're under 12, so use this as a lesson to not trust strangers on the internet. Good day. And after that, I blocked him because I already knew based on this kind of person that they were going to send me like a barrage of stuff. And not only that, if you're under 12 on Discord, like that's against the TOS. So I don't want to be communicating with a 12-year-old. But did that stop this person? Of course it didn't. They came back and said, hey, I am the same person. I don't know why you blocked me, but I wanted to say I just taught he is legit. Like, I don't care that I got scammed. I just wanted to see if you can get rid of them somehow because they use your name to scam among others. And so I responded and I said, of course, you have an alt and probably 20 more. Go outside. Take a wild guess if they decided to go outside. You don't want to get rid of them because that is your alt account and that Eclipse is really you and you scam among people, or are you somehow associated with them and you don't want to take down their server even if they use your name to scam them? Shocker. Another one. N-bomb, after you are chopped ASF, you have that slicked back hair, you look like a raw raisin. Don't assume that I found your associates on your alt account where you scam among people. I think you know I will expose you and all the messages. And I tried to tell him that he needed help, but unfortunately he left the server, so I couldn't send him any more messages. But it's just like, what? First of all, big ol' pat on the back for me. Good job, Eclipse. You saw this idiot coming with his 30 alt accounts from a mile away. Because if someone's coming to me and sending me messages on an alt account, there's a very good chance they have several more. But just the leaps in logic that you have to take to think that, like, what the fuck did he think I was gonna do? Does he think that I have the power to just take down someone else's Discord server? How the hell would I even go about doing that? Oh yeah, let me go email Discord. Hey, some guy's impersonating me and scam-a-mumming a people on this stupid Roblox game. Like, you think they give a shit? No. And what, did he think that, like, I was gonna make an announcement in my server being like, hey, these guys are scam-a-mummers, so make sure you don't go over there and get scam-a-mummed? Like, no, of course not. Normal, intelligent people are not gonna fall for this because they're not like 10 years old like you. Anyways, yeah, it was stupid. I just, like, just for future reference, if you see someone trying to, like, trade you and they claim to be me, they're probably trying to scam-a-mum you, so don't get scam-a-mummed. Well, we're moving forward, and unfortunately, I put out a video on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and the result of that was Eclipse gets frustrated about 100 times. I might have died from frustration more than twice. Anyways, there's some apologists for that game, unfortunately, that didn't actually go and play the game over to check the things before they said them and just sort of assumed, and they assumed wrong. The first person was talking about the perilous attacks for sweeping attacks, which if you've seen my videos on the game at this point, you'll know that I beat the game, so I've long since figured out about those. But regardless, they said for the perilous attacks, where the red kanji pops up, you have to either jump over them or Mikiri counter them. You Mikiri thrust attacks and jump over sweep attacks. Also, for dodging, it doesn't work like how it does in other games. You don't have as many iframes, so it's better to use them to get out of the way of the attacks. This message in of itself is not horrible. It's a bit ass backwards considering that I Mikiri counter in the video, and I also jump over sweeping attacks a couple times in the video. But it's really the follow-ups to this that I think are killer. We've got someone who says, I don't know how he didn't know this. I'm pretty sure the game teaches you that. And then another guy who says, yeah, that kind of pissed me off. The game told him how to do this, yet he ignored it. He also ignored the training dude in the dilapidated temple. He had another opportunity to learn how to counter sweep attacks, but missed it. Yeah, I'm not sure why he does this sometimes. And there's some stuff in here that I'm going to address, but first of all, I have to give a shout out to Lunas Gaming for helping me out here for stating the obvious, which is it's been a while since he last played, so in that time, it's reasonable to assume that he just forgot about the sweeping attacks. But the last comment is really killer because it's so close to being self-aware and then isn't. This guy says, I usually agree with the guy, and maybe it's because it's a game I know better, but it really feels like he's a lot more pedantic with this one than he usually is. These are explained rather clearly, and I found the press control to get the tooltip complaint to be a bit silly given it says that much. Granted, you need to put food on the table somehow. So, the salt part at least clues you in it's not all serious. He's so close to getting it. So close, but drops the ball. So first of all, the very first video that I put out on Sekiro was a little more than 4 months before I put out the second one. In between the 4 months of playing the game the first time and playing the game the second time, I had not played it a single time. 4 months is a pretty long time. So that in of itself should already pretty much absolve me from a lot of this stuff where it's like, they taught you in this tutorial 10 minutes ago. Yeah, well, they didn't teach that in the tutorial 10 minutes ago. They taught that in the tutorial 4 months ago. Now, second of all, let's talk about the dilapidated temple guy, because the first thing I did, very first, I promise you this is true. You don't have to believe me, but I don't know why I would lie about it. But the very first thing that I did was that I went to the dilapidated temple and I did the tutorials with that guy over again. And there is something critically important about those tutorials, which is that the sweeping attacks aren't in there. Now, whether or not this is a glitch on my end and they normally show up in there, something that I do not think is true, or that the game devs just forgot to put the sweeping attacks into the training guy that reteaches you how to do things in the game if you've forgotten, regardless, they're not there. You've got default combat stuff, you've got the Mikiri counter, but sweeping attacks, completely absent. Not only are sweeping attacks completely absent, but to my knowledge, when the game actually does teach you about sweeping attacks, it doesn't tell you that you can press the jump button again after successfully dodging a sweeping attack in order to do a whole bunch of posture damage, something that's really, really helpful later on, that as far as I can remember is not in the tutorial, but I could be wrong on that one. What I do know is it's not at the training guy. But the most hilarious thing about all of the angry comments in the Sekiro video is just how hard I tried to make it so abundantly clear that I'm the one wrong and you're supposed to be laughing at me, not getting angry. Guys, I watched the same footage back that you did, and I thought a lot of the same things. I was like, wow, this guy's an idiot. He keeps getting hit by the same stuff over and over again. What a moron. What a ridiculous reaction to this stuff, because at the time when I'd played it, I was already kind of miffed, and then I jumped onto a game that just pissed me off even more, and the angrier I got, the less critical thinking I did, and so I just kept doing dumb stuff over and over again. So that's the point where I edited the video to specifically make myself look stupid. At a lot of points, I put text on the screen, laughing at myself. Did you miss the part where the ogre throws me off the cliff for like the 50th time and I blame the game, and there's a text on screen saying like blamed the game counter even though it's my fault? I felt like I did everything possible to clearly show that, like, I'm looking back at it after the fact and clearly it's not as bad as what I'm saying in the video, so you shouldn't take it too seriously, and people still took it too seriously. What more could I have done? Did I need a disclaimer at the very beginning being like, hey, if you see anything that seems outlandish, like, no, I shouldn't need to do that. Not when it's so clear with the editing. Like, oh, dumbass jumps into the fire and then says the game sucks, and there's a clip where it says, where I'm making fun of myself with salt, and you guys took it seriously. What the fuck? Anyways, not only were there idiots when it came to talking about the Sekiro gameplay itself, which I feel like I've absolved myself a little bit by completing the game, but regardless, of course there were morons who were complaining because, for those who saw it, you'll know that the Sekiro video was a big old clickbait about roadblocks. And this fucking moron says, pretty cringe how you make a video about every shitty game, but not roadblocks. To which Lucian Lowe properly responded, so Sekiro is a shitty game? Average Eclipse hater right here, being too stupid to see what a game is. Hey, random commenter, you know Sekiro won Game of the Year the year it came out, right? Like, it's regarded as being one of the best games ever made. Nope, it's a shitty game. It sucks. And in regards to clickbaiting and all that nonsense, we've got another fucking moron who says, after this stunt, the Eclipse will continue to wonder why he channel is stuck where it is. I wonder how he thinks people will genuinely watch this type of content when he clearly sees the displeasure from his audience that follows it. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but I'd like to think that a lot of the people who watched that video actually enjoyed it quite a bit. There are a lot of positive comments on those videos. So I don't necessarily think this is true at all, even at face value. But if we try to dig into it a little bit, you don't think that I knew that just blatantly clickbaiting people would erode their trust? You know, you might have missed it, but I literally talked about this in a Q&A like a video or two before this video came out. I talked about all of the intricacies and nuance of how it worries me to mislead my audience and how I haven't done that in the past, specifically because I don't want to erode the trust in the audience. So I did this whole roadblocks thing, and I did it twice. And I was pretty surprised because both of the times that I did it, it actually went over pretty well. There weren't a whole lot of people like you who are just pissed off and being like, where's my roadblocks? Most of them were drowned out by people that just ended up enjoying the video anyway. So, if anything, it alleviated a lot of my concerns in messing with people this way because people enjoyed and laughed at the joke. And it makes people like you look really stupid because, well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. You were just wrong. The first video that I did it got 60,000 views, and the second video where I completed Sekiro got 53,000 views. Both not shabby numbers at all. And the watch time on all of those videos is good, so people didn't just click on it, not see Roblox, and then immediately leave. A lot of them stayed for the video. So yeah, I've never been happier to say, fuck you, man. You're wrong. This next one is funny because I ended up on my Deepwoken video because I was arguing with some guy in my DMs about something pointless that didn't get into this video. But regardless, I ended up having to go back to my old Deepwoken review because I needed to show them some stuff that I'd said in the past because they were erroneously saying that I never criticized Deepwoken, which is just so far off. But regardless, I saw this comment that had a response from a moron, and it's just like the perfect summation of the kind of people that I hate. Anyways, the first comment's perfectly fine. It's from a impronounceable name, but they said, I've sunk a good at least 6 hours into trying to enjoy Deepwoken and I just can't do it. The combat is so slow, the progression is slow, figuring out anything out is slow, the quest lines are slow and tedious, but just when the combat gets fast, it's only fast for your vastly overpowered opponent who 3-shots you with some moves that you don't even know you could get, and then you just spawn on the same island getting wiped because they can defeat all the guards too. Deepwoken is genuinely a miserable slog. I would not recommend it to anyone, and that was with 2 to 4 players depending on session length who were pretty experienced in the game and well rated in Chime. This is a perfectly fair comment. There are people who like Deepwoken and enjoy the slower progression systems. We were talking about grind earlier, and I don't think that Deepwoken's progression is that grindy. It's fun to play, but some people don't think that way, and that's fine. It's not a game for everyone, and it's got fair criticisms, but regardless, somebody responded to this guy because they just had to white knight their favorite game, who says, bro has no attention span, go touch some grass. Oh my god. Imagine telling somebody that they don't have the attention span to play Deepwoken, and then following that up by telling them to touch grass. Something that if you were a big fan of Deepwoken, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you probably don't do that. Classic elitism though. I saw it when I was over there and I just had to put it on here. Imagine brushing off all of people's complaints with, haha, you're a TikTok brain, no attention span, get good, touch grass. Like, what an idiot. Anyways, we're wrapping up the Daily Dose of Stupid with Type Soul. Of course, Type Soul's back and, why? Why did I do this to myself? First comment is, I'm tired of acting like Eclipse is a good critic. Forget this guy needs to be guided like a 5-year-old. The game is bad, but give us good reasons, not just because you don't understand. Last I checked, understanding how to play the game at all is pretty important to getting to the parts that you're talking about that would tell me that the game is bad. I think the game becomes bad when I don't even understand how to play the game right from the get-go. You open up Type Soul, and the first thing that you should be doing if you want to know how to play the game is opening up another browser tab and looking up a tutorial on how to play the game, because the game itself doesn't have one. And not only does the game itself not have one, but they were making one, but the dumb fuck shitty scam artist of a developer of this game cut the tutorial out of the game. How can you forgive that? How is that? That's a bad game. I don't ever need to get to any of these other parts of the game that are also bad if the beginning of the game is so bad that I don't want to keep playing. It's not rocket science. I don't understand why this is such a hard thing to grasp. If I boot up a game and it sucks ass right from the start, I don't want to keep playing. And it perfectly segues into this other guy who says, I don't like this video. Not because he criticized Type Soul, but because he critiqued it for the most stupid reason, when if he got off his high horse, he would find so many actual things wrong with the game. Dude, how fucking stupid is the sentence you just wrote? If he got off his high horse and actually played the game, he would realize that it gets just as bad later. What? Just how dumb are you? How dumb are you? How dumb? If the game is bad at the start and it continues to be bad later, why would I keep playing it? Why would I do that? You have fully admitted to me that it continues to be bad. So if I drop it because it's bad at the start, then you can't flame me for not getting to the stuff later that also sucks. And if your complaint is that, well, Eclipse, if you don't criticize the worst parts of the game, then they can't fix them. Do you think the idiot who cut the tutorial and doesn't pay his developers gives a fuck about my videos or making his game better? Do you think that? Use your brain! And it's just like, these people can't use their brain. You get people like, 1 year in, this guy still hasn't unlocked a move. That was in the video. That was in the Did you watch the video? You know, the part where I go to unlock a move and it doesn't do anything and doesn't tell me why it doesn't do anything? You don't think that's a problem? I wonder why Eclipse hasn't unlocked many moves. Maybe it's because he put his skill points into a skill tree and then went to go unlock a move in the skill tree and it didn't work and didn't tell him why it didn't work. But that's not a problem with the game. This guy's just a fucking idiot. How has he not gotten a move yet? Maybe because the game sucks. And I just like, I can't even fathom, like, what is going on in these guys' brains? Bro, is this a bug or something? When I meditate after completing stage 2, my race is hollow. Why is there no whisper on my camera? I was already in front of the sword that was in the Menos place. What the fuck does that even mean?